so much. First of all, thank you, powerful, strong, beautiful women, for inviting me to be part of this. I was supposed to come to ACRA last month and be part of the other conference. And I was so excited about coming over there, and it was, going to be life-changing for me. So I'm grateful that even though we have this pandemic, that I'm still able to participate, support you, learn from you all, and grow together. This topic is near and dear to my heart. I was sharing with a friend and colleague right before this session that it might sound strange, but it excites me to speak about this, because when I do, I receive healing in my heart and in my life. So when I speak about the experiences that are terribly painful to me and have been terribly painful to my family, it offers my self-healing. And I hope that my message is able to help one person out there. That's the beauty of this thing. So the topics of addiction, mental illness, abuse, rape, all of them go hand in hand for me. When I was a young child, I was age 4 years old. My mother was in a toxic marriage, and I was molested from ages 4 to ages 7. And I watched my mother get terribly physically assaulted in front of me for many years. We lived in fear for our lives. And, it was how it was for me as a kid. The man was a very abusive man. He was a drug dealer. He was also one of those people that portrayed himself as this church-going man by day, and was an abuser and a molester by night. And, growing up with that, you are automatically have very little trust with people. So, when we're taught to trust, when we are born, not taught, when we're born to trust those who, our parents or people that protect us, when you automatically start your life and don't have that trust for the people that you should in your life, it really puts a damper on things. It really shifts and negates who you are and who you become. And, watching these things happen to my mother, was very traumatic for me. And when we finally got away, when my mother couldn't take anymore, she was scared for her life. I know there was times, as I'd gone through this healing process, where I would say, why didn't she get away earlier? Why didn't she save us and get us out of there? But I do truly, from experience and growing and healing, know that, she did the best she could with what she had, and she was scared for her life. So, my mother did eventually get us out of that position, and it was not an easy thing. We were on the run. We were, we went and moved to out of state. We had to get restraining orders. And in this process of when we did get away, the man who was not my father, he was my mom's husband, he hired someone to kidnap my younger sister in front of me and bring her to Canada, to across the border to another country. And, so we were walking, my grandparents were taking care of us, and my mother was at work. And we were, just riding around on our bicycles. And this man, it was, the days that they do the yard work, a lawn maintenance day. So there was a bunch of lawn crew everywhere. And there was a man dressed and blended in with all of them. And he ran, grabbed, knocked me over on my bicycle, grabbed my baby sister, and ran towards the road. And I see a car coming around, and I thought that they were, to help me and save me. So I'm flagging them down, and I look in the car, and it's my abuser. He had hired this other gentleman to come and abduct my sister. So we ended up getting my sister back about a month later, through a lot of processes, through her grandparents. And, it was a whole thing. She came back on the news, television. And I wouldn't go outside for about a year. I was traumatized, so going from sexual abuse, physical abuse, watching my mom get abused, into watching my sister, my baby, get kidnapped in front of me. And of course, I accepted some of that responsibility as a 7-year-old girl in my heart. Like, how come I didn't protect her? How come I didn't save her? What's wrong with me? So these are the self-defeating thoughts that really just led my life. And as I became a teenager, I found and sought out all the problem people. I found the people that were doing the bad things, because it took me out of myself, and it took me out of having to deal with my emotions. And as a woman who has been abused, you feel dirty, you feel bad, you feel dirty, you feel damaged. At least I did. I can't speak for everyone, but I know that that's a pretty common theme. And I believed that my life was destined to be, I was destined to be a mess up, a screw up. I was destined to have a terrible life. I was fortunate enough that in my mind that I wasn't a prostitute on the, living on the street. So if I wasn't that bad, I was okay. And I had, this false set of beliefs for myself. So therefore my life continued to spiral in a negative way. I continued to get into, to trouble as a teenager. And by the time I was, 14, I was in my first institution. I was in a mental illness institution for behavioral issues. I was court ordered to go as a teenager to get help. I didn't take anything seriously. I still found the party drugs, the party people, the drug people. I don't want to say partying because it wasn't really fun. I found anything that I could to get outside of myself and to make myself feel better. And I, went through about 10 years of this spiral of mental illness and addiction. I had been prescribed all kinds of medications, had all kinds of diagnosis, and had, been in so many institutions. And it was to a point where, I was tired and I was desperate for change. And I had my son, who's now 14. I had him when I was 24, and I was, not in full-blown addiction or breakdown. I was kind of keeping it together at that time. But when I had him, they prescribed me pain medicine after I had him. And that really brought me to a new level of a downward spiral. And I was fine with being diagnosed with a mental illness. I just didn't want to be called an addict. I didn't want to be defined as that. So I was fine with anything else, but believing inside that I had to stop drinking and taking pills. I thought that was my savior, my best friend, took away all the pain and allowed me to continue along until it didn't anymore. When I was younger, I had many great opportunities. I was in the entertainment business. I was in acting and modeling from ages 4 to 22. So in between some of those ups and downs in my youth, I had some moments where I had some really great times, some really great experiences, and it wasn't all terrible. But there was that time where the scale became unbalanced, and the negativity took over in my life, as it often does. I hope that women that come from that abuse or are abused, in a marriage, or come from abuse as children, are able to overcome that belief system that's so ingrained within you, because it really does a number, and it does damage on your soul and your spirit. It makes you feel like this is who you are, and it does not define who I am today. As a matter of fact, it's given me purpose to shine. It's given me purpose for healing in my life. It's given me purpose to help others. I know that right now, it's a time that this is becoming far worse. Mental illness, addiction, abuse are at an all-time high. And here in America, people like to think that these kinds of things aren't as bad here as they are in other countries. I think they're worse here. And it's amazing to me the amount of spike, like these children here were safe when they would go to school. They would be able to get away from their abusive family members to go to school, and able to eat healthy meals when they went to school. And now that they're home, they don't get this break. This domestic violence and this child abuse is at an all-time high right now, and it breaks my heart. So I feel compelled now more than ever to be that voice, to be that advocate to anyone that, has been through it. It does not define you. To anyone that has suffered, or, it feels like they can never heal and recover from this, and feels like they're meant to be a certain way their whole life because of what they've been through. I'm here to tell you that that's not true. You are amazing. What happened to you did not happen, it doesn't define you and doesn't make you who you are. You have a greater, more beautiful purpose in this world, and there is healing possible. There is healing available. I became sober in 2007. My son was 18 months when I decided to make a significant change to my life. I went and placed myself in an inpatient treatment center, which encompassed the mental health aspect, helped me with medications and helped me to get stable. And then also addressed the addiction issues. So I was, since then I've followed what I've needed to do for my journey and my path. And I've built a really beautiful life for myself. For someone who had all these lost dreams that I had in my youth, I, really felt like at one point that I messed up everything in my life, but I've been able to, as an adult, create this beautiful life for myself. I've gone back to college, obtained a bachelor's degree. I've, become trained in yoga. I've been able to travel around the world. I've started businesses. I've bought homes. I've been married for a length of time. And for me, I couldn't do intimacy and sex together. I could have sex with someone with no attachment to it because of my trauma, or I could love someone and feel emotional with them. And with my husband, we had to do work before we were about to get married, and it started to come up a lot. A lot of that trauma was coming back to the surface. And how can I trust a man after what I've been through on a deep, deep, intimate level? And we did work together, and I had to embrace that I could trust him, and that this was going to be different, and have that sense of healing in my life. And I now finally, I just turned 39 years old. I finally am able to have intimacy in life along with loving someone. And, when you are abused, those are hard things to overcome. I want to pinch myself sometimes because I don't know why or how I was given this other opportunity at life, and how I've been blessed. But I've done the work. I've showed up, I've done the work, I've pushed through the uncomfortable feelings. I no longer need to reach for something outside of myself to make myself feel better. I'm able to be present in the moment and support and encourage other women. I love empowering other women to find their voice and to feel their voice, and to have that hope in their heart. And I know that I caught on to the very end of this last speaking engagement, and I wished I would have heard the whole thing, because it really resonated with me what you ladies were talking about. Finding your voice, having your healing, helping others. How beautiful is this? We're 3 pages on Zoom. I don't know how many people that is, of women all around the globe that are coming together to embrace one another, to unite one another, to come together and support one another. And that to me is the most beautiful, precious gift that I could be given, is to connect with you all and to be able to share some of this, pain and connect with you. Because listen, we've all gone through it. We've all had our barriers. We've all had our mountains that we have to overcome. And I made a conscious decision in 2007 that I was no longer going to allow what happened to me, the experiences that I'd been through, any kind of diagnosis, any of that crap, to define who I am and to define my future, that I was going to be a miracle. And I truly, truly believe that my life is nothing short of a miracle today. My children have never seen a unstable mother, 14 years old, 7 years old. I have a stepson that's 23. They've only seen me as a well-together, educated businesswoman, mother who's loving, compassionate, empathetic. They've never have to see that. So I really was able to recreate my path and my journey, and recreate what, could have been and would have been. And, like I said, I sometimes want to pinch myself and say, just out of gratitude. I'd love to hear if anyone has any questions. We all have gone through things in life, and addiction and mental illness are very prevalent around the globe. I don't know what it's like in other countries. I'd love to have a question and hear like something from you all, and what it's like in another country and what it's like with the mental illness and the abuse from some of you ladies.
Much, Amanda, for your delivery. It has been a wonderful journey thus far with your talk. I immediately felt your pulse at every step of your discourse. It is quite the dose of the psychological medicine many people need right now with everything that is going on across the globe. Thanks once again for your submission. I think the first question that we might like to ask you before we bring our host, our beautiful host of the day on board is, first of all, Amanda, these challenges that you've spoken about, I know you've mentioned a lot of areas. I know it occurs in a daily basis around the world. Any specific reason for the spike in occurrence during this time? Or at this time?
That right now, why it's getting worse?
Yes, especially during this COVID-19.
Well, right now, if people were already unstable or on the edge, this is an event that can really push you over the edge. Think about how hard it is for those of us that are stable and have good head on our shoulders, that it's hard day to day. Like I'm home right now, I'm working full time. I'm crisis schooling my children. I work with people in crisis. I work with people that are mentally ill and that have substance abuse issues. And so I work in that, and I'm still seeing them in person. So if I think about how hard it is for me to just say, okay, on a daily basis, to see, to think of, I've dealt with women and men recently that were newly sober, newly had changed their life. And then this COVID-19 came. So as they're implementing this new way of life for themselves and trying to connect with quality people in their lives and building their support system. And then there's, you have to stay isolated. You can't go to any kind of social event. You have to stay in your home. It's very isolating, and addiction and mental illness are very isolating, they're diseases that, that make you feel very alone as it is. So if you're already feeling that way, it's magnified right now. And if you have a loved one who you're worried about if they have a possible drinking or drug issue, right now, they're not able to hide that. There's nowhere that people can go. There's no, usually people in life are so busy now, we're, usually strangers in the night. We go, we do our own things, but if you're stuck with people in one place, you cannot hide from that. And then the abuse part is, like the children, like I mentioned, children, wives, they were safe when they went to work, they went to school. So now when everyone's home all the time, there is no break in that abuse. It's at an all-time high.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Debbie.
Did you say Debbie? Oh.
Yes, hello, Debbie. Well, one of our moderators will be coming on board now.
Awesome. Yeah, I, kind of what to add to what we were just discussing. I'm trying to reach out and kind of be an advocate right now. Social media, to let women know that they are welcome to reach out to me. I'm constantly sharing different support services of, local and national organizations for domestic abuse. So that if, there's this one thing that's going on Facebook right now, where if you message someone that you'd like to buy soaps, that they're reaching out for help. So if they're in a toxic, abusive relationship and they message you, hi, I want to buy some of those soaps that you have, they're letting you know that they are looking for help and you can help report something. So there's ways that us women can unite and help and look out and be each other's eyes and ears and help women get out of these situations. Because, I truly know that my mother, she had guns to her head and she was scared for her life. So she couldn't get out of the abusive situation she's in. It was when she found out that I was sexually molested that she finally, knew that she had to get out of there. So we, escaped in the middle of the night and had a cab come pick us up, a taxi cab. And then we were, hidden, and we went out of the state. We went in hiding for a little while. So there are ways for people to get out, but these people are scared for their lives. It goes that deep for them.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. All right, then. We want to really appreciate you for sharing your experience. To be honest, it's really mind blowing what an abuse can actually do to one's mental health. I did work about 2 years with the NHS and the mental health hospital, and out of the 10 women I looked after, 7 of them had gone through one form of domestic abuse and the other. I mean, it was amazingly, surprisingly painful that what we go through in our minds, in our hearts, can actually have that kind of permanent sometimes, and then affect everything else we're doing. So for some of them, they never got through it, and I'm glad that you have actually come through your own I will say challenge, because it is a challenge. And I want to say thank you very much. The comments have been very, in fact, people don't even know what to say, because it's usually very hard to see someone that, going to that state of emotional breakthrough and breakdown, then go into drugs, come out normal and fine, because you're doing very well. You're very good. No one will see you and say you've actually gone through all that. I really, really want to say thank you very much for encouraging us. We appreciate you, and we hope we'll still be able to talk to you more. And if there are any questions, we'll actually have to bring them to you to help us with, please, if you don't mind.
I'd love to. I remember somebody along my journey, when I was not in the place I'm in now, saying to me that I needed to forgive my abuser. And it made me so angry to think, I'm not going to forgive him. He was a terrible person, and what he did to my family. And I can honestly say that I look at it differently now. I can't say I forgive him like I'm going to have him come over for dinner. But there is a level of forgiveness of myself that's come from a lot of the work that I've done. And each time I share about it, I promise you the pain is lessened. Anytime I'm able to share about my abuse, I think of somebody possibly hearing me that is suffering inside, and they can't get past it. And they hear my message, and they hear like what I've gone through. And if that can help just one person, that to me is so healing. And that's what this is about. I'm always available to be of support. That's why I've been very involved in helping people with it, with addiction. I do that for my living, but I feel like now my passion project is to be a voice for domestic abuse, rape, molestation, and helping women heal and recover from this, because it can destroy your entire life. And women do end up homeless on the street because of this. They do end up in psychiatric wards for their life. They end up not being able to be in a committed, healthy relationship because of these. They seek out that same abuser. So it's the healing is possible, and it's so important for women to know that yes, we can heal.
Thank you very much. We do have questions for you, Amanda, if you don't mind, please.
Of course, I'd love to.
Good. Okay, I'm going to take this one. I have a niece who has been married for 10 years, but her husband always locks her out of his room and told her he doesn't like her. He hardly gives her money for the house. They hardly have intimacy. she's thinking of leaving the marriage. What can you advise her to do?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few factors in that. One, I would definitely be trying to do some work on myself if I was in that situation, because it starts within. We have to believe in ourselves and love ourselves to be able to make the changes we need to make. If she's not in if she's in a safe situation, maybe see if there's ways to get out. I know that not everyone has the opportunity to to leave right away, but like maybe, try to work on an exit plan. If it's something, listen, life is too short. If you're either in an abusive situation, you have to find a way out, reach to family, reach out. If you're unhappy, you deserve more in your life. We live one life. This is it. This is our chance. This is our opportunity. And if we have children, we want our children to know that we made good decisions for our lives and show them the way as well. So if it's safe for her, I would find a way to work on myself, to build that strength, that esteem, because I'm sure her esteem is not good right now, or her mental health. Then I would make a choice to either communicate, to make a change with the individual, or leave, if that's possible, of course.
Thank you very much.
But healing definitely starts within. Sorry.
Pardon me.
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, sorry, we've got more questions here.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Right, second one. What's the best way to help a minor get healing from sexual molestation?
Well, I can share my experience and my journey. I think there's a lot of different ways that one can. My experience is when my mother found out, she first went and brought me to a doctor to get it proven, to see if her thoughts were true and some of the things that she, was led to believe happened, and to be able to prosecute him if we needed to. So find out, identify what the nature is of what has happened. I started therapy at 7 years old. I've been in therapy my entire life. And so that's been very helpful to be able to verbalize and communicate, because I believe if I would have kept it in and stuffed it, that I would have never been able to heal and get better. And being able to find people that understand you, people that have been where you are, people that, are trained in the abuse, or, a support system. Support systems are everything in the healing process. So find out the nature, find out the support needed, and find the right professionals to help guide, and then also making sure that they're in a safe, loving environment, and that they get positive reinforcement constantly, that they're not, like I believed that I was dirty. I believed that I was damaged. I believed that I was disgusting. These are what I believed at 7 years old. That's a terrible thing to believe about a pure, beautiful little girl, So definitely some positive reinforcements and a lot of help. It's not a lot of things. It's not enough people walk out the other side of this thing and live a good life, unfortunately. But it's possible. I can't hear you, Deborah.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear now. Not now. I can't hear you. Is it me? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay. I just can't hear you, Debbie. Maybe I can continue talking. Someone thanked me for being open about my insecurities and things. Listen, it wasn't always like this for me. I was a very insecure, young girl, teenager. I turned, is that you, Debbie? I think I hear you. I turned to,
Oh, can you hear me now?
I do. Yes. Yes. I turned to anything that made me feel outside of myself that could make me feel better. Anything would have to feel.
Good. Okay. Sorry. So the last question I was about taking before I went off, my apologies to everyone.
Oh, you're fine.
I think I had a problem with my headset. Yeah. Right. How should spouses in such situations like yourself handle, manage and handle their partners? So if I had a partner who perhaps, had, such challenges. So you like, take, for instance, you said you found love again, so obviously there must have been things that would have been done to manage you and all that. So how does one go about such situations, please?
Well, I definitely had relationship issues due to my abuse, and due to my upbringing and kind of things that have transpired in my life, the lack of healthy male role models in my life, not knowing my own father. My stepfather was my abuser. I didn't know my father till I was 8 and didn't see him again till I was 13. And so, having this instability of male figures in my life was definitely a recipe for, a little bit of challenges along the way, finding a healthy partner in a good relationship. So my husband and I, we've been together for 9 years. We've been married for 4. We have our 7-year-old daughter together. And then we each have a son from a previous marriage. I have a 14-year-old and he has a 23-year-old son. And we got together and we had a lot of the same things. We have, a lot of things in common. We had overcome a lot of the same things. He's also in recovery from substance use disorder. And so we had a lot of things that united us and bonded us, and we were great friends. And as we started to become more serious, there were some things that started to come to the table, right? Because when we first get with someone, you only see, what the representation is, and you don't get to see the whole thing until you're with somebody long term. That's why it's always, fun for people to get in that early phase of relationship and then do it again and do it again. So I kind of was about that for a while because I didn't have to get into depth with people. I could get that connection and then bye. So with my husband, we had very conflicting issues. So my issue was, getting vulnerable, getting intimate, really connecting on a deep level, allowing him to truly know me, to be able to be sexual and intimate together. And my husband's an Italian man, and he's very passionate, and he's very emotional and very touchy-feely. And he was also cheated on by his 2 relationships before me. So he was very insecure. And so insecurity and my issues very much clashed. So, we had to really do some work to be able to get on that same page. And for me to feel safe with him, that he wasn't going to abandon me, that he wasn't going to hurt me, he wasn't going to abuse me. And then he had a lot of work to do to believe that I wasn't going to cheat on him. I wasn't the last woman, in his life, and that he could trust me. So, my issues mixed with his issues, I say clashed for a while, are things. But once we did a therapy, I don't know if it's used worldwide, but it's called Imago, IMAGO. It's a fantastic form of communication therapy where, you talk in a different way to one another, to where we were really able to get in each other's minds and hearts and understand. And the therapist actually had me describe some of my abuse to my husband. And that, he knew about it. He didn't know the details. And it really helped him to understand me on a different level. And I was able to really understand him on another level, to say, you know what we're clashing is not really about that. It's about things that have happened to us and our trauma together, So that's, I say, do whatever work is needed, Thank God I have a lot of therapist friends, and I was suggested Imago, and it was amazing.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that one too. Very interesting. I've got this other question. Families where these challenges occur mostly have their kids present. It is a different experience entirely for them. How can those kids be taken care of from the pile of abuses?
What was the last part? I'm sorry. How can the kids, what?
How can the kids be taken care of from the pile of abuses?
I mean, for us, it was removal of, we had to be removed, if, I believe that, I don't want to be sexist. I believe that, women can be abusers, men can be abusers. My experience was the stepfather was the abuser. And the only way it stopped was by getting us all out of there and getting us all safely. And that was, we had to go to the extremes. We had to leave my mother, I remember visually the last night that we were with the man, the abuser, he took my mother by her hair and dragged her over a whole dock with like nails sticking up and threw her over the intercoastal onto coral, like onto the rocks. So when she was able to get herself back, back to us, she called the taxi cab. We ran, there was guys chasing after us. We had to get in the taxi cab. We were hiding. We had to get restraining orders. We had to leave the state, leave another area, and really just kind of like go under different, even almost like identities. So we had to go to extreme in my situation. Now, not everyone is that extreme, would come back and kidnap a child, or would come back and stalk them. But I believe that if my mother didn't remove us from the situation, that it would not have changed. And I've had and over my years, I had a boyfriend that showed somewhat of that he could freak out and get almost abusive. I left right away because I knew the sign, and I knew I didn't want to be in that position. I wanted to change my destiny, and change the decisions I made. Like I said, my mother did the best she could, but I believe getting children safely, even if, that's a process, do definitely get the children out and safe.
Mm.
Is that possible in all of the places that everyone lives? I mean, I don't know what it looks like. Like, does a woman have the ability to, like in a place, I heard someone talking from Nigeria, to just up and leave and start her life over? Is that something that's possible? Yes. Okay. That's good. No.
Usually a difficult one.
Yeah.
It's usually a difficult one.
I mean, like, even, like culturally, is it something that's culturally, like, is it a taboo to leave your spouse, even if they're abusive?
Sorry, I didn't get your last statement.
Pardon me. It's okay. Is it like a taboo thing to leave your husband, even if they're abusive? Like and where do you live?
Well, I think most times well, I live in Nigeria, and also my kids are here, so in the UK. So what it is in Nigeria, really, there's the social status. Most cultures and most families believe if you're married, you must stay put in the marriage, because they tend to respect women who are misses than if you're a miss or a ms. So typically, I mean, in Nigeria, the woman always takes the blame. So it's like a bad thing. I won't call it taboo, but it's usually a bad thing, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I said, because I'm saying this answer as if it's so easy, because it's not, even with my mother here in Florida in America, with the difference of the culture and the ability to leave, it was still that challenging. So, I sit here and say it, oh, just leave and take the kids. And it's not always that easy. So I want to honor that and embrace that, like, that it was a privileged situation that my mom was able to leave, and my prayers and my love go to those women that don't have the ability, that don't have a way out, that aren't able to, that society doesn't even support them, that culture doesn't support them. Like that's has to be really hard.
Yes, it is. It is.
So if anyone
Thank you
here
very much. I've got some.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, if anyone is in that situation, support, let me know. I'm here.
Thank you very much. Sorry, the questions are just popping in, so I'm
it's okay. Keep going.
Okay, right. I've got this one. It says, what are the signs to look out for in a man that has the potential to be abusive?
Well, definitely take time getting to know someone. I've learned that, with so many different things and relationships in my life, take time to get to know a man. Don't jump in and think you know them after a few months. You don't. So they don't know you in a few months. So definitely slowly take time to get to know them, get to know the people that are in their life, find who they surround themselves with. If a man is very isolated, that I some people are more independent and like to be alone, but a man that doesn't have like friends, isn't close to his family. I knew with my husband, when I saw how he was with his sister and with his mother, I knew that he was for me, because I saw how close he was to, and I just saw how he treated everybody in his life. Look for signs of anger, look for the resentment behavior, look for possessive and jealous. If somebody wants to, micromanage your life and doesn't allow you to be you, that's also, I think, can be different culturally as well. But, allow somebody to allow you to be yourself, and trust your gut, trust the gut instinct. If your gut tells you something, listen to that and honor that. Because how many times in life I've not listened to that gut and been like, oh, so mad at myself later, So those are some good ones.
Yeah.
Taking the time to get to know someone, I think, is key.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amanda. I really appreciate that. For the last question, we have it's pretty difficult battling with. Very key. Very key. All right, I think we've got the last question here, Amanda, if you don't mind, please. It says it's pretty difficult battling with low esteem, especially when you were knocked to its lowest depth by your partner. How can one speed up a healing process? Is there really a fast way into getting over what it is, or do we just take it each day as it comes? What's your advice on that one? Quickly, just before we round up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish it was a quick process, and I'm sorry if that, if anyone on here is hurting, in this process. For me, it took me many, many years, of healing and work and falling down and getting back up again, and, and putting myself through so much hell before I was healing, so be kind with yourself, be gentle with yourself. Give time. If you can get safe, please get safe. If you can find some kind of support system, some kind of therapy, some kind of healing work, do that. Love yourself. Get yourself safe to the best of your ability. Love yourself. Do self-esteem work. If anyone would like, they can email me after. I could send them some things that, help build you up and help you to feel, proud of who you are and love yourself as a woman. So I'm willing to send anybody anything, but I wish there was a speedy way. But, for me, it took many years before I got to the place I am today. So give yourself time, give yourself a break, and love yourself.
I'm having a bit of challenges here.
We hear you now.
Can everyone hear me? Amanda, are you
Yes.
still with me?
I can hear you, yes. Hear ya.
Okay, I think we should be rounding up now. Obviously, we'll have to put together the rest of the questions and send over to you if you don't mind. We want to say
Yes.
thank you very much on behalf of Dabira Conference and every woman and man who has tuned in. So many people are watching on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and we want to say thank you very much. It's been very insightful. You really encouraged us. It's not an easy task coming out to tell your story, and we sincerely appreciate your time. And we do pray that what you have actually said to us today will also be a healing process to so many listeners out there, because trust me, even at this time, the statistics are rising daily on what people are going through. And we cannot overemphasize the need to listen to people like you who have actually succeeded in coming through and can actually share your story. Thank you very much. God bless and stay safe, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. I put my website in the messenger if anyone wants to find me and want to reach out for any support. I'm happy to provide you with any resources that I have. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. I honor you all, and I think you're beautiful, powerful, forces of life. So thank you for sharing energy with me today.